So today we're going to go through some of the photos in this book because after reading this, I really started looking at photography differently and I just got this newfound inspiration. It was like that creative spark was reignited after reading this. We're going to go through some of the photos and we're going to go through why I'm getting inspired by this book, and maybe you can get some inspiration from it too. Now, to keep in mind, it might seem obvious, but it's good to reiterate, this photographer, Saul Leiter, he was photographing New York City in the 1940s. Think about the camera that he would have had to use back then. Everything was fully manual. There was no autofocus, there was none of that stuff. Everything was film and manual focus. So the way that he's captured some of these images that we're going to go through is just mind-blowing, to think that he could do it all on a manual setup. So as I said before, Saul Leiter was a photographer in the 1940s in New York City. But why was he a photographer? Why did he do this? Did he want to be famous? What were his goals? I learned that he didn't even really want to be famous for photography. He has a quote in this book. Let me find it. He goes, "I don't see why you can't be good at something without taking yourself so seriously." It's so true. There's often this pressure that once you get really good at photography, you have to be like professional, or you have to take it seriously and only post your best photos. You're not allowed to do anything less than the best. And it's really refreshing to hear his perspective, which is like, yeah, why can't you just be good at it but also just have fun? It doesn't have to be this serious thing. And I totally resonate with that, because I find whenever I'm taking photography too seriously, that's when I'm usually having the least fun. I have avoided profound explanations of what I do. And then the next one here is, I was hoping to be forgotten. I aspired to be unimportant. I can kind of compare this to how it is with photography and social media right now. Like, we're all trying to post photos to get as much reach as possible. Essentially, if you're trying to do this full time so that you can work with brands or get sponsorships or just get more known as an artist and a photographer. Whereas it's really interesting. He says, yeah, he was hoping to be forgotten and aspired to be unimportant. It's a really interesting perspective shift if I compare it to today, where it's kind of the complete opposite. We're all looking to grow and try and be known. Why does a book give us inspiration but Instagram and social media doesn't? Well, I was reflecting on it and I thought a book doesn't have an algorithm that's trying to serve you the best content next. It's just the next page. You take it one page at a time. Photos are actually printed bigger. The book isn't going to force you content that it knows that you're going to watch and want to stay reading the book. It's just one page at a time. It's tangible. It's here. It's you and the book. And you get to really have a more intimate experience with it. So that's one thing. And the next reason as to why I think a book gives more inspiration is the photos are printed way larger. Like, have a look at that, right? You can actually see more details that you would often miss on Instagram or on your phone. Like, you can actually scan around, look at the image and go, whoa, like, look at all these cool little details. And it really tells more of a story. And I think as a photographer, I like to look at that and see, oh, like, he's included all these different things in his image. He's included the red of the jacket or whatever it is, those small little details. You can kind of get a better idea of what the artist was thinking about when he was taking these photos. Like, bro, look at this shot here. Like, how cool is that? Just got this like snowy New York City red umbrella, and there's like all these drawings on this frosted window. Like, being able to sit here and like look at this photo makes me want to go out and shoot snow in New York. A lot different to what it would be like if I saw this exact same photo on social media. I'd probably compare myself and be like, I'm not in New York taking photos right now. It's weird how it works, but I know that's just how I usually feel. Speaking of inspiration, I just launched a private community for photographers who want to connect with like-minded photographers and be a part of a supportive creative group. We have weekly photo challenges which are designed to spark your creativity and get you out shooting. And we also have bi-weekly live streams where we can chat about photography, you can ask questions, or we share tips and tricks about photography. If that seems like something you want to be a part of, then you can also join Think Less, Shoot More in the description below. But now back to the video. Another photo I really love here, and that inspired me with my street photography. But what I love about it is that he's chosen to focus on the window instead of the background. So you can really feel what it was like to be there. The way that I get inspiration is I see a shot like this and then I go, all right, next time I'm out doing street photography when it's similar conditions to this, I'm gonna focus on a window and like try and get a cool subject in the background. And I've noticed that I've actually used that technique in shoots following after reading this book. Here's another shot that really inspired me and kind of shifted the way that I see the streets when I'm out doing street photography. So what I learned from this and applied to my photography was the way that he included foreground elements and background elements as well as a subject into his shot. So on the left hand side you can see that there's this guy walking, and then in the actual reflection of the shot you've got that big building and it's kind of warped by the glass in the reflection, which I just really like as well. But then in the foreground he's also chosen to incorporate these yellow flowers and this vase, and the combination of all that is what makes it a cool photo as opposed to just a reflection shot in the glass. His intention to include all these different elements is what really sets it apart. An example of how I used this book to get inspiration in my own photography was when I was in London a couple of weeks ago. I was doing some street photography there, and I remember this shot here, this reflection shot, and I was like, oh, maybe I can try that as well. And I ended up getting this shot here, which was really inspired by Saul Leiter's work, and I think it's a much more interesting shot as a reflection compared to if I had have just photographed the London red bus with this person walking by. Every page, I keep flipping the pages and I'm like, oh my god, I want to go to New York and do photography now. Like, have a look at this. It's literally just a zoomed in shot of a back end of a car, but the way he's used the reflections just makes it such a cool shot. Like, it changes the way you think. Like, when you see a car now, you're not looking at the car per se, you're looking at the reflections in it and how you can compose a shot within the reflections. It's just so cool. I think I'd like to end this video with one more quote that resonated with me from this book. I did things because I liked doing it. When I'm asked, why did you do certain things? Because I like it. And that pretty much sums up photography and why we should be doing it. When getting inspiration these days, just get inspiration, look at some cool shots, and go out and do some photography. Purely because you like it. Who cares how many likes it gets? Who cares all of that sort of stuff? Just do it because you like it. If there's anything you learned from this video, I really want you to actually pick up a photography book. It doesn't necessarily have to be this one, but just pick up a photography book, read it, get some inspiration from it, and then go out and actually take some photos. Don't just click off this video and forget about it and then go scroll on Instagram. And if you do end up going and picking up a photography book, I'd love to hear which one it is. Leave it in the comments below. Or if you have any suggestions for a cool photography book that you think I would like, then also leave that in the comments below. But that is all for today's video. Really hope you enjoyed it, and I'll catch you in the next one.